There is a split in the core of my soul, in my identity, that I wrestle with constantly. It's between two parts of me. Part of me wants to be as precise in my speech as possible. Someone who spends time carefully formulating arguments and then presenting those arguments without interjecting my ego into the mix for the sake of laughter or admiration. But part of me wants to be exactly the opposite kind of person. Someone who acknowledges my ignorance and limitations and recognizes the hypocrisy that would be inherent in trying to present myself as some sort of clean-cut authority when it comes to discussing the political, psychological, or philosophical topics that I talk about.
Did you read the conclusion before sending this to me?
Read it again. This study was...
I am not good at almost everything, but I am pretty good at being funny and having open, authentic conversations with people, and I can't do that if I'm obsessed about carefully choosing my words. I have to embrace imprecision and improvisation. That's what the spirit of play is, I think. And this internal psychological struggle is, for me, very easily projected onto two figures who represent this archetypal tension very visibly: Jordan Peterson and Slavoj Zizek. Jordan Peterson's famous rule to be precise in your speech is something that I viewed as an axiomatic injunction, meaning that without exception and whenever possible, you should always strive to choose your words as carefully as you possibly can, no matter what. And it was this exact moment in Peterson's world-famous interview with Cathy Newman that unconsciously cemented this idea for me.
But I also didn't deny it existed. I denied it existed because of gender.
Okay.
See, because I'm very, very, very careful with my words.
I actually remember watching some reactions to this interview, and it was that statement in particular that elicited visible admiration from many people.
Okay. See, because I'm very, very, very careful with my words.
So the pay gap exists, you accept that?
There's no doubt that precision in your speech can truly make you a force to be reckoned with.
You need to learn to think, because thinking makes you act effectively in the world. Thinking makes you win the battles you undertake, and those could be battles for good things. If you can think and speak and write, you are absolutely deadly. Nothing can get in your way.
It's for this reason that I took the rule to be precise in your speech as axiomatic. But after a while, I began to notice things that made me question whether or not this was even a good rule at all. For one thing, it seems like identifying as someone who chooses their words very carefully is an unsustainable game that will inevitably backfire on you at some point. Or at least it appears that way in Peterson's case.
I'm not very agreeable.
Right,
But
I've noticed that
successful.
actually in this conversation.
At least
and
we
I'm
can have
sure
a
it
great
served your career well.
What rules, you sons of bitches? Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
But even before all this, I noticed in Peterson's debate with Zizek that Zizek appeared to have a leg up over Peterson in terms of charisma and style. In fact, Peterson even pointed this out himself.
You're a strange Marxist to have a discussion with. And, well, but here's why. This is not an insult by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, one of the things that struck me when I was looking at your work was, well, first of all, you're a character. And that's an interesting thing. Like
Is this an insult or
it's
not?
not an insult. It's a sign of originality. And it's a sign of a certain amount of moral courage. And it's a sign of a certain temperament. And it makes you humorous and charismatic and attractive. And I think you appeal to young people the way that outside intellectual rebels appeal to young people.
It seems to me that the appeal Peterson is talking about is a function of Zizek's imprecision with his speech and being willing to offend people with edgy humor and not giving a damn what people think.
I'm going to change. No, I'm sorry. I'm in charge here. No, but I'm sorry. Let's move along.
This question is again for Slavoj. You're a supporter of...
And when I think about the most powerful cultural figures in society, the people who are capable of influencing the behavior and ideas of as many people as possible, they're all comedians. I think average people, including myself, have the opinions that we do in large part because people like Dave Chappelle or Bo Burnham or Bill Burr embody these ideas, give them practical, almost mundane form, and their charisma is something that causes us to think, okay, well, if they have those ideas, then maybe they're good ideas. In fact, I think entire cultural movements can grow out of the rough and imprecise social commentary of a comedian, like what Patrice O'Neill is to the entire Red Pill movement. You see, a major part of what I'm trying to do on this channel is to get as many people as possible to change their ideas and behavior. And I think the best way to do that is not by engaging in intellectual debates and doing complicated video essays, although I will do do that for my own benefit from time to time when appropriate. The best way to change people's minds is to earn their respect. And I think there's nothing that people respect more than authenticity. And for me, being authentic means embracing imprecision in speech and allowing myself to engage in uninhibited play. Despite the fact that I would literally die if I was not able to immerse myself in complex philosophical thought or whatever nerd shit we're talking about, I am ultimately a comedian at heart, I think. People are different, our temperaments differ, and the moral prescriptions that we live by differs from person to person.
Like what you do that's immoral could be very much different than what you do. It might be temperamental. You know, we're each in our own playing field in a sense.
And for me, I just don't think being precise in my speech as an axiom is a feasible thing to live by. And as much as my life has fundamentally changed for the better due to the work of Jordan Peterson, I am much more like Zizek in my temperament. Peterson is a wise, empathetic, and courageous individual, but to be completely honest, he's kind of a nerd. And if we all have a part to play in the war of ideas and spirit that we seem to be engaged in our society, it behooves us to have a diverse team composition. And so Peterson and people like him can queue up as the high IQ spellcaster, and I will queue up with Zizek as the +5 agility and charisma rogue character. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what is your personality like? What role are you going to queue up as? And how does it differentiate you from others while still allowing you to synergize with them? Or you can just ignore my advice and enjoy the video for the entertainment that it is. Because technically, and for legal purposes, this is, of course, a comedy channel. And so with that, good luck and Godspeed.